All right, let's get into it. We're going to break down this incredible modern myth, a story about a new kind of power that's born from total collapse. And really, it's a deep dive into how you forge real strength from the absolute darkest places.
So this whole story of collapse and rebirth, it kicks off with the end of an old oppressive order. A world that's just defined by this suffocating, static weight.
So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, the new crimson egg, its birth. Then, the art of downgoing, which is its training. After that, how it masters its inner forces. Then its transformation into the lawgiver of ruin. And finally, we'll tie it all together with this idea of the rope over the abyss. All right, first up, a new crimson egg. So, picture this. A world totally stuck in its ways collapses into ash. And from those ruins, something new hatches. But here's the thing. This is no simple repeat performance. This new being is literally the physical manifestation of our modern era, the zeitgeist, made flesh and bone.
In this fledgling dragon, it's a total paradox. It embodies what's called the numinous state of the abyss. That's where the absolutely terrifying and the sacred, they just coexist. It's kind of like that Jungian idea of the self, right? Where you have to integrate your shadow, all those dark parts of you, to become a whole person. That's what's happening here.
So that brings up a huge question, right? What exactly is this abyssal sovereignty?
Well, think of it as this chthonic pressure, this crushing force that comes up from the absolute depths. This isn't about power that's handed to you from on high or some kind of official title. No, this is about forging a resilient soul, a core forged soul, by withstanding a kind of pressure that comes from the bedrock of reality itself.
And this is where you see the beautiful paradox of this creature. On one hand, you've got the darkness, that abyssal sovereignty, the pressure that forges its soul. And on the other, you have the light, this solar white. And get this, it's a lightning that comes from within its own marrow, not from some distant heavenly source. So the darkness literally forges the conditions for its own internal light to exist. Incredible.
Okay, Section 2, the art of downgoing. This brings in its mentor, Maximus, who operates from a place called the Byzantine Hypogeum. He gets it. To go up, you first have to learn how to go down.
Yeah, Maximus isn't some distant teacher barking orders. He's a peer, someone who's already mastered this path. He guides the dragon through the Untergang, a German word meaning downgoing or descent. It's a necessary dive into the depths to find true, unshakable authority, a path he knows all too well.
And this mentorship is absolutely critical, because the goal is to avoid something called the vortex ring state. And that's basically where a spirit gets trapped in its own egoic downwash, just spiraling into itself. The training ground, this Byzantine hypogeum made of volcanic stone, isn't a prison. It's an engine for growth. It's a form of ritualized distress designed to forge, not break.
And this just hammers the point home, right? True authority is not a gift from the heavens, but is earned by withstanding the crushing depths of the bedrock. It's not given, it's earned. Plain and simple.
All right, Section 3, Mastering Inner Forces. This is all about moving from resisting gravity to actually wielding it. This is where the real work begins.
Okay, look at this contrast. It's a total 180. The old dragon was basically the high priest of Thou Shalt. It used its crushing weight to enforce static, rigid laws. It was constantly resisting the spirit of gravity. The new dragon, it learns the inverted passive descent. It actually internalizes gravity and uses it as a power source. It yields to the world's forces to become incredibly precise.
So how does this inverted passive descent actually work? Well, first, it yields to the spirit of gravity instead of fighting it. Then it internalizes that force, turning it into what's called bioelectric magnetism. Step 3, it transforms the dead weight of the past into kinetic energy. And finally, it achieves Aufsteigen, that's rising or overcoming, with super precise action. The old burden becomes its new fuel.
So, to survive its next big test, this labyrinth of glass called the refractive citadel, which just reflects its own ego back at it, it has to learn yaw rate modulation. This is a spiritual technique. It's about constantly shifting your perspective, your angle of attack, so you never get pinned down by your own reflection, your own ego. It's how you avoid getting stuck.
Okay, Section 4. This is where it all comes together. The dragon evolves. It's no longer just a student of the ruin, it becomes the lawgiver of the ruin, building its own internal foundation.
And what does this mean? It means it sheds all the old hurdles. The greed of Fafnir, the gnawing of Nidhogg. These are old mythological chains. It stops seeking external validation. It stops praying to distant heavens. Why? Because it's finally found the lightning within its own marrow. It doesn't need to look outside for power anymore.
And this is that final, critical shift. It moves from sulfuric static, you can think of that as the old world of rigid, dead-end laws and traditions, to solar white. And that's a whole new kind of existence, one that bleeds through the shadows, totally powered from within.
So what keeps it stable? It's this incredible architectural logic called aspect ratio. Think of it as this symbolic balance. You have its internal foundation, its wing area, S, and then you have its external reach out into the world. It's about making sure your core values provide a solid bedrock strong enough to support you as you navigate whatever trials come your way.
So, the big question, what's the point of all this? This brings us to our final section, the rope over abyss. Because this whole story is really a parable for our potential to synthesize the deep and the sky.
Because by becoming a master of both, the sovereign of the deep and the sovereign of the sky, the dragon achieves a new state of being. It becomes the Beyond Man. It's a living synthesis, a being that has integrated these two massive opposing forces into one.
And that's really the heart of it all. The dragon's journey is the rope stretched over an abyss, the very thing that connects our current human condition to the potential state of the Beyond Man. And the ultimate lesson here? The way to overcome our limitations isn't to run away from the abyss. It's to build a foundation right through the heart of the world and learn to wield the lightning you find within yourself.